was requested a couple weeks ago. Thank you for that request. I had mentioned that I was currently playing an old cello from France, and I was trying to do a bit more research on this specific cello, but that's actually really difficult to do. I do not know even what year it was made. If you have a cello and you take a look in through the F-hole, you may find some information about the year or when it was made, kind of the model, the make, whatever. And this one just has a little sticker that looks very old that says made in France. So if anyone's out there that knows what that means or can tell us a little bit more about this cello, or why it doesn't even necessarily have the year, that would be much appreciated. I say this all the time, but I'm going to say it again. My channel, as sort of a cello channel, primarily, is just me kind of documenting my experience learning the cello as an adult. I am not a professional. I don't ever want to claim to be a professional. My videos aren't professional. I have a whole zoo of animals that seem to be coming in and out. So this cello, the reason why I'm playing it is actually, it is a friend of mine. It's his cello. It's someone who has been instructing me on the cello, who is an amazing cellist. Do you hear my dogs wrestling? If the kitty comes back, I'll pick him up and I'll show you, because there was a few shots with that kitty earlier on, and it was a kitten, and now he's a big boy. I actually got him when he was little. His eyes were completely closed shut and I thought he was blind, but with a lot of vet care, he can now see great, and he's currently checking out the cello case. So the reason why I have this one is actually my cello is I bought my cello about over a year ago now, maybe 14 months ago, and it's my first professional cello ever. It's a beautiful cello, and it started warping. Now, I live in a climate that's really cold for most of the year. I live in Canada, in the part of Canada that is frozen for quite a while. I don't know if the temperature sort of had an effect on the wood or the neck. Yeah, basically what started happening is my strings started getting further and further away from the neck. So currently I'm looking at someone who can fix it and look into it. But with COVID, that has sort of stalled everything. A dear friend of mine lent me this beautiful cello for the time being. So I had mentioned in one video that I would do a review on this cello, and someone did actually comment and say that they would love to hear a review. So I'm going to do that for you today. But I do want you to know, I started doing reviews not with the idea that I am a professional or that I know what I'm doing or that I can even tell you exactly, professional level advice on this kind of cello. I just started doing reviews because a lot of people that are tuning in are in a similar situation as me, and so maybe my opinion matters in that case. The other thing I'll mention is I am wearing a wrist brace today, so I'm not going to do anything too crazy. If you don't know, I just have a little bit of trouble with my wrists. It's just because I broke my arm/wrist 3 times in my childhood. This is more for extra support. Sometimes my wrist is in such a painful state that I don't play instruments for a while. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. Sometimes they don't like the sound. this cello. So the tone, I'm learning a lot of it has to do with the kind of strings you have on your cello. So the person that I'm borrowing this from has a very certain type of string, and actually the C and G are different than the D and the A string. If I could remember what was on here, I would tell you, but I can't remember. The other thing is this specific person who is a professional cellist, he is very particular about all of the parts of the cello. So every cello that I've owned while working with this individual, often he recommends that I change little bits and pieces on my cello just to make it the best instrument that it can possibly be. The other thing is actually right before I picked this up, this piece was changed on this cello. It was a wooden piece before. And so even like down to the end pin and even the pegs, I know that these pegs were replaced and these ones are solid wood also. So this cello, the reason why I say it's very old is because of the information that is not available within the F-hole. The other reason is because there are tons of cracks. All of the cracks have been repaired, but there's just a lot. I don't know if you can see it, but there's just a lot of cracks. There's a crack coming up here. The varnish is kind of peeling off. Basically all of the sides are kind of nicked. But if you can see this, the wood is a very beautiful wood, and the sound, I don't know how you would describe it. It's certainly not as bright, it's not as tinny as some of my earlier cellos that I had, which like the very first one was made out of plywood. So I know that the cello that you purchase, even if you're going to do a whole bunch of upgrades on it, it is important to buy a cello that you like the sound of. And I believe that that's the body and the type of wood that it's carved out of makes a huge impression on the sound. And then all of the things that you can do in the end just sort of maybe enhance that a little bit. It was also recommended to me recently that I put a bamboo post as the sound post. Many of you may be wondering where I'm at with the cello, if I've improved, because I haven't posted an update for a long time. So I am going to do another update soon, and I have some more playing videos coming. I've been working on vibrato a lot for the past year, but that's one thing that is sort of affected by the wrist, so I won't be doing too much extravagant playing in this video. Not that the other videos are extravagant. But my thoughts on this cello, it is a beautiful cello. It was difficult for me to adjust to this cello from my last cello, Actually, because even though my other cello, the strings are getting farther away from the fingerboard, I bought that cello initially because the action was awesome and super easy to play. So I don't know what it was, but whether the strings were just like a good distance from the fingerboard up here, it was just super easy to control. Like probably, so not this cello, but my cello, probably like so now I've transitioned to 3 cellos. I've owned 4. Just because I've continually upgraded as I've gotten better, I've found the need to upgrade, and I can tell you about that in another video if you're interested in that, but not in this video because I'm going to keep it short. But it was just super easy to transition to my cello from the one before. This cello was a little bit more difficult to transition because the action was different. It's not difficult to play. Me maybe owning a cello with a super easy action may not do me any favors for when I do play other cellos, but whatever, I'll worry about that later. As far as the cracks and stuff, I haven't noticed that it affects the sound at all. However, I do feel like it's fragile, like I just get worried. Some people may think that because it's so cracked, maybe you don't have to worry so much, it's so beaten up, which I guess, but it's not my cello either, so I do try to be careful, and also it just feels like more fragile, just because it feels like the structure is already compromised in a way because of all of the cracks, even though they're repaired. Maybe that's just a mental thing. Besides that, it's probably the nicest cello I've played. I'm sure it's better than my cello, more expensive. So, alright, so if you're interested in hearing more of the sound that comes out of this cello, I think the last 3 or 4 videos I've posted and a couple coming out will show you that. And see you next time.